Okay, morning folks, welcome to the briefing on Friday the 3rd. So this is the predicted 12 o'clock chart. That high pressure system really has been clinging on for almost sort of 14 days now. It sort of just won't let go, and it looks like it'll be here for another couple of days before you start to see these weak fronts here, small low pressure system, drift across the middle of the country, pushing it out of the way, but they're not really a feature. And it looks dry for about the next 5 or 6 days. So we're in an easterly flow, as we have been for many, many days. Isobars reasonably well spaced apart here, and sort of slight northeasterly flow on the ground. I think 050, 060, but generally east-northeast. General flow. Pressure is where it's been for about the last week. 1024, 1026 over us. Not a lot's changed. We're not likely to see anything from this frontal system. I think there is something weak just laying across the centre of the country in here, an old front of some sorts, because it looks like it's remained cloudy for most of the day over the Midlands. So quick look at the TAFs. Short one from Farnborough, which is always good news. 0506 knots all day. Talking about broken at 2.5, I think this will slowly lift into broken at 2.5, and then depending on what model forecast you look at, it might disappear completely. But prob 30, that's this morning, sometime between 7 and 9, 8,000 meters visibility. So initially poor vis, but I think very quickly, if not already, vis is fairly good. So nothing really to report on any of the TAFs. Upper winds, you can see across the middle of the country, pretty much easterly, 2,000 feet, 080, 090 over us. A bit south of us, it's about the same, 080, a little bit more southeasterly on the continent. So I think pretty much easterly wind for most of the day. Sat pic shows this thicker band of cloud across the Midlands here, and that does look to be fairly solid. But over us and the southern part of the UK, it's breaking up quite nicely here. And the BBC showed this. Just fizzling out, nice, warm, sunny day. Some models show cumulus, others don't really. So we shall see. I don't think the stuff over the Midlands is really going to go very far. I think sort of from the Wash to mid Wales, it's going to be fairly solid all day. Overcast at sort of 1,500 to 2,000 feet. Temperature wise, in the south of England, I think you're looking at, BBC was suggesting in London 23 degrees, so 22 degrees. This time of year, it's quite warm, quite pleasant out there. And dew points down somewhere around 10s, I reckon, over our area. And that's maybe even going a little bit lower than that. So quite a good temperature and dew point split. But now is where the models sort of differ slightly. The predicted GFS sounding, adjusting by sort of 1 o'clock with those sort of temperatures, dew point maybe 11, you're going to get cloud base about 3,000 feet, cloud tops about 4. And then as the afternoon goes on, it goes up a little bit. Temperature of 22 degrees. Providing the dew point stayed about 10, then they're talking about going up to about 4,000 feet. And I think that's looking reasonably optimistic. Other models showing very similar. The actual Lark Hill shows This is the 6 o'clock at Larkhill, a very, very strong inversion at somewhere around 3,500 feet. And whatever cloud exists in there at the moment is going to get trapped in there for a while until the temperature goes up. And at about 20 degrees, you will start to see it break up quite readily. But the interesting thing is above that, it's very, very dry air across here. So you would anticipate that once it actually goes above that, it would blow out fairly quickly. Dew points initially show at about 11 degrees there, but yeah, the dew point and temperature lines don't meet this side of that line. They meet up here somewhere. So from looking at that, you would say that at some point it'll blow out and then stay blue, but it should, with 22 degrees, go to about 3,500 feet. So you pays your money, takes your choice. I'm leaning towards the actual ascent, but at the end of the day, we're drawing in slightly moist air from the North Sea, and experience over the last 2 weeks has shown that dew points don't drop very much, and sometimes they actually go up a little bit. So if you had dew points at about 11, you might see some cumulus. Top Meteo are obviously using GFS data, so they're showing it clearing up in the morning. This is sort of 11 o'clock, and then cumulus, small amounts of cumulus from then on, really. That's 2 o'clock, and that's sort of 4 o'clock. Quite often it showed this model the last week or so, and it was affected by the air coming off the North Sea and the differing dew points. Thermal tops by midday beginning to get going, and then 1 o'clock, 3,000 feet, and then 1,500 meters to the west of Lasham, so 4,000 feet in this area here. Yeah, got to 22, 23 degrees, possibly. I think at their suggested distance is out to the west, and I would think that looking at the weather, if it was the competition last week, we'd be setting for 18-meter gliders around about 200k, 250k maybe at the most. Smaller gliders 150k at this time of year. Wind still a little bit fresh down on the coast, so should be okay. Should be flyable all day. And one model says cumulus, the other says no. So we'll see what happens. Okay, airspace wise, fairly quiet, sort of local area. We've got down here, this is the Bournemouth Air Show and the red arrows. So that's number 7 and number 8. The timing on that is restricted area, temporary at Bournemouth, the air show, between 1 o'clock and 6 o'clock, and that runs till the 5th. So that's every day until Sunday. It's covered by an AIC, and every day you've got red arrows display, 1455 local to 1535, 6 nautical mile radius for the reds up to 8,000 feet. At the end of the day, most of that is contained within the Bournemouth control zone. It may stray out a little bit, but it's not going to be an issue for glider pilots. 9, 10 and 11. 9 is high intensity radio transmissions from Boscombe down. Don't affect us. Anything will be contained within the ATZ. Number 10 is a clay pigeon shoot, and number 11 is just showing that the danger area crossing service, the Salisbury plane, is not actually available. Further up north, 16 and 17, although we're not likely to be tasking out that way. pyrotechnics at Abingdon and military parachuting today at Farmore Reservoir, which is contained within Bryce, is airspace. So surface to 3,300 feet, that's pretty much within the airspace. And it's from 3 o'clock till late this evening. And that's about it, fairly quiet on the airspace front, folks. We're obviously set up on 09. I've just put a picture up here. We'll be set up on the runway around here. Bit of a problem today. In so much as 2EE have some runway and taxiway works here, which is tarmac work, which is going to close this part of the runway. Now, this becomes an issue for us because people come in the gate and we've told them that they've got to actually sort out either escorts or marshalling people. But people, if they're not marshal, they turn this way because they can't get the other way, and then they start coming down here. So you may find, folks, we'd like all club members to use the main Lasham entrance, and we may close off this area here and stop traffic coming in this direction towards us, because we know that they're going to come down here and across the runway. So we'll see how that one works today, folks. You may find the avenue gate gets closed completely. Right, easterly operation, pretty much dead easterly, so a little bit bumpy behind the trees with a slight northeasterly. Shouldn't really be a problem. Cables will be on the south side, normal setup, aero towing on the runway. And I will see you out there fairly shortly.